Hi yogis, my name is Sandra and this is my rooftop in Vancouver, British Columbia. Today I'll be leading you through a beginner levels flow to help you learn some of the yoga postures that you find in a regular vinyasa or hatha class. We'll get started in tabletop, so start to make your way into the middle of your mat on hands and knees. Once you're there, make sure that your hands are underneath your shoulders and that you spread your 10 fingers apart, and that your hips are over top of your knees and that your knees are at hips distance. On your next inhale, begin to arch your back, sending the tailbone up and gazing up. And on your exhale, press the ground away as you send your chin in towards your chest. Inhale, moving back into cow pose. And exhale, rounding your spine into cat. Continue to move here with your breath. Gently opening up the front body and rounding off the back body. And feel free to move side to side or to send your gaze back behind you. And just take one more round on your own breath. Eventually coming back to a neutral spine. If your toes aren't already tucked, make sure they are now, and begin to root into your hands, gripping the ground with 10 fingers, and then hover your knees off of the ground, about an inch or two. From there, you'll start to really feel through the tops of your thighs, and keep gripping the ground with your fingers to fire up your forearms as you draw the navel in. Hold it here for 3, 2, 1, lower the knees. Take a deep breath in and an exhale out. We'll try that one more time. So hovering the knees off of the ground, pausing there to build strength and feeling that into your forearms, the core, and of course the tops of your thighs for 3, 2, 1. Lower your knees and take them a bit wider this time as you send your hips back, arms forward and the forehead to the mat for child's pose. And this is a resting posture that you can feel free to make your way to at any point in practice. You can always hit pause on the screen and just hang out here as long as you like, settling your breath down and relaxing. And when you're ready, start to make your way up to our first downward facing dog, sending hips high, and taking a few moments here to pedal out your feet, so sending one heel down towards the ground at a time. Hello. See you later. And just taking any movement that might feel nice into the backs of your legs, into the spine, the sides of the waist or shoulders, and eventually settling into your first down dog. Now notice where your points of contact are in your hands and your feet. Spread your 10 fingers wide and try to root your heels down towards the ground. And if they're not touching, you can always take a bend through the knees. And then draw your attention back towards your hands and really focus on rooting down into the index knuckles and pressing the ground away, but finding a little bit of length between your shoulders and your head. Send your gaze back between your feet. Then work on lengthening through the spine as you send the hips a bit higher up towards the sky. Try not to let your ribs collapse down, but keep a little bit of pressure and engagement into the shoulders. Take one more breath here. One more exhale. And look forward and walk your feet to the top of your mat until we meet in a forward fold. Any bend in the knee here, because this is a lot of intensity and lengthening through the hamstrings, and a bend in the knee will help. The option here to take opposite elbows. This draws your body down towards the ground a little bit more. It might feel nice to sway side to side, letting go of tension and letting your head be nice and heavy. Then lower your hands back under your shoulders and lift up halfway. Lengthen your spine here, draw your hands to your shins, and then exhale, melt everything back down. Take another halfway lift, hands to your shins, and exhale, fold. And coming up to stand, we'll make our way really slow here, bending into your knees, and just ragdoll your way up to standing. Eventually finding your way to the top of your mat, palms face forward in a pose known as Mountain Pose or Tadasana. Settle into your posture here, noticing the way that your hips, shoulders, everything stacks right over your heels. Maybe close your eyes and breathe deeply, rolling your shoulders down your back. Take one more breath in, one more exhale, and then open your eyes. On your next breath, lift your arms overhead, palms will touch, and then bow forward all the way back down. Take another halfway lift, hands to shins, lengthen your spine, and exhale your hands to the ground as you step back into push-up position. You can always lower your knees here as an option. But to build strength, lift your knees off of the ground and hold it here at the top of the push-up, squeezing the belly in towards the spine. Building strength, same way we did as we were hovering our tabletops. Grip the ground with your fingers to feel that into your forearms. Take one more breath. One more exhale, and then shifting your weight forward on your toes, and either lower your knees or begin to exhale your way down as slow as you can, elbows right beside the ribs until you're all the way down on your belly. Our first back bend will be a Sphinx Pose. So place your elbows underneath your shoulders and then begin to open up the chest as you press down into your hands, and at the same time think about pulling your tailbone back between your heels. Broaden across your collarbones here, and just gently opening up through the lower spine and finding length in the upper spine. Take one more breath. And then exhale your way back down and press your weight back, coming into Child's Pose, just for a breath in, a breath out. And then making your way back up into Downward Facing Dog. Again, feel free to take a movement, especially if it's first thing in the morning, or finding some stillness and sending your attention back to your breath. One more inhale. On your exhale, looking forward, come high on your toes, bend your knees, and step or hop to the top of your mat. Once there, take a halfway lift, inhale, and exhale, fold it back down. Root into your feet. This time, inhale as the arms sweep up to the sky, and then exhale your hands to meet at your heart. We'll take that same thing again with a little bit of a variation this time. On your inhale, lift your arms to the sky, and exhale, fold forward all the way. Inhale, breath, lifting halfway. Exhale, plant your palms and step back to the top of a push-up, holding it here. Squeeze the belly in, fire up the forearms. Make sure that your shoulders are strong. And then shift your weight forward. Exhale, lower halfway down. Hold it there if you can. And then come all the way down. This time, baby cobra. Inhale as you open up the chest. Keep your feet on the ground. And we're just lifting up through the upper spine. Chest peels off the ground, and maybe even your hands float off of the ground. Press the tops of your feet into the mat and lift up one more time. And then return back down, pressing back through Child's Pose. And finding your way up into Downward Facing Dog. Take another breath here, inhale. Exhale, look forward, come high on your toes, bend your knees, step or hop to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold down. Root to rise, arms to the sky, palms touch. Exhale, hands at the heart. One more time here. Inhale, lift your arms. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, find your halfway lift. Exhale, hands come down, step back to plank. Hold it in. Squeeze your belly in towards the spine and try to keep your shoulders and your hips in the same line. Take a breath in. Send your weight forward as slow as possible, lower halfway down, and then all the way down, building strength. A little bit higher this time on a Cobra. If it feels right in your spine, and maybe pressing down into your hands and finding more extension in your back bend. Feel free to move into upward facing dog, lifting the body, the legs off of the ground, thighs off of the ground, and finding a little bit more extension. And then maybe moving over your toes this time into downward facing dog. Continue to root into your hands, your index knuckles, and try to root the heels down towards the ground, staying active through the shoulders and lifting hips high. Take one more breath in. Exhale, looking forward, high on the toes, bend your knees, step or hop to the top. Inhale, lengthening halfway. Exhale, folding down. And coming to stand, arms to the sky. Exhale, hands meet at heart. We'll move into our chair pose, which is a lot on the legs, building strength into the thighs. So bring your hands to your heart and leave them there. On your next exhale, we'll sink down into a chair. The weight stays into your heels, and we're not using our arms this time because we want to focus on our base. So notice where your knees are and try to bring them back in space. It might feel like you're actually going to fall back. Go back as far as you possibly can. And then think about lifting your heart into your thumbs to find more extension through the sides of the waist. And then the thighs should be really burning here as you sink a little bit lower. On your next breath, now lift the arms to the sky. And then exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthening halfway. Exhale, plant your palms and step just your left foot to the back of your mat, lowering the knee to the ground. If that doesn't feel good on your knee, you can always place the mat over top for another layer, just to give yourself some padding. And then coming up into our low lunge. Usually with low lunge, I'll start with our hands on our hips here. What I find is that a lot of people start with it more like 90-degree angles, or standing like a knight. Instead, I want you to step your right foot a little bit more forward so that you can sink here into your hips and feel that stretch into your left hip flexor. When you found your way there, lift your arms to the sky and really work on pulling your right hip back and sending the left hip forward. And this is an active stretch here. You should be thinking about the inner thighs working towards one another and the tailbone rooting down. Lift up the arms, and then on your exhale, draw arms into cactus and then send your weight back so that the hips are over top of your left knee. And on your inhale, sweep your arms forward. And then exhale, weight comes back, arms to cactus. Inhale, sweep it forward. One more time, exhale back. Inhale it forward. Maybe send your gaze up to the sky. And then exhale your hands down to the ground, stepping back to downward facing dog. And just let that go. Taking any movement that might feel nice. From here, send your left foot to your left thumb for the other side. Low lunge, gently lower the right knee to the ground. Start with your hands on your hips. And once again, notice if you can find that stretch here into your right hip flexor, which you won't find if you're too upright. So stepping forward enough that you can keep your left knee over top of your left ankle, and then stretch your arms to the sky. Inhale. Think about the tailbone rooting down to help with the hips staying square. And then lengthen through the sides of your waist. And try not to let those front ribs pop out, but pull them in. Nice. Bringing arms into cactus, send your weight back. Inhale, sweep them forward. Exhale back. Flow it forward. Inhale. Exhale back. Last time forward, arms to the sky. Maybe the gaze goes up. And exhale, hands to the ground. Stepping back into plank. This time lower half or all the way down. Inhale, taking a cobra or up dog, thighs off the ground. Exhale, downward facing dog. And gazing forward, come high on your toes, bend your knees, step or hop to the top of your mat. On your inhale, lengthening halfway. On your exhale, folding down. From here, back into your chair pose with feet together, an inch between the heels. Sweep your arms to the sky and we'll leave our arms up over our ears this time. Once again, drawing your knees back as much as you can over top of your ankles. Lengthening your arms, send your gaze just forward so it's not down. And take one more breath in. And on your exhale, coming into stand, arms to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center. We'll move into our first balancing posture. I'm going to turn to face away from you so you can see what my feet are doing here. So start by rooting down into your right hand and your right foot, and then begin to lift your left foot either above or below the knee, just not onto the knee joint. And I'll bring it up here. Now think about where your hands are on your hips and think about rooting the tailbone down to make sure that the hip points are in the same line. And then draw your hands. Enter tree pose. If you feel comfortable here, start to lift your arms up to the sky, taking any expression with your arms and sending your gaze up in front of you. Or to help with extra balance, you might even send your gaze up to the sky. And then drawing your hands back to heart center. Shift your left knee out in front of you so it's at a 90-degree angle, and then thread it back behind you into a crescent pose and stay high on the back toe. And I'm going to just move to the other side here so you can see my crescent. When you found your way there, arms will lift to the sky. Try to keep your right knee over top of your right ankle and come higher on the ball of your left toes than you think. Just take one more breath here, inhale. And then exhale your hands down to the ground, stepping back into plank pose with the option of lowering half or all the way down. Inhaling to your up dog or cobra. And exhaling your way back, downward dog. You can always skip the vinyasa there or move at your own pace. And child's pose is always a great option as well. From here, send your left foot to your left thumb, finding crescent lunge on the other side. So we're doing the reverse on this way as we make our way back to tree pose, but we'll stay here in crescent lunge, keeping your hips nice and square and noticing where your left knee is over top of your left ankle. Relax your shoulders down a little bit, but keep this nice and active and strong through the legs. Taking one more breath. Now very carefully start to send your body weight forward, bringing your right knee into that 90-degree angle. Lower your hands to your knee, and then place the foot either below or above the knee joint for tree pose on the other side. You can draw your hands to your hips to begin and think about rooting the tailbone down, eventually finding hands at heart center. Your gaze point should be about 3 feet in front of you on the ground. When you've found your balance, you can always send it forward or up to the sky. And on your next inhale, if you've got your balance, lifting arms into any expression of tree. And slowly lowering the hands back to the heart. Place your right foot down to the ground and arms down by your sides, palms forward, Tadasana, mountain pose. I'm going to come back to the top of my mat to show you our next balancing posture, starting on our right foot once again. Lift your left knee out in front of you to that 90-degree angle and place your left hand to the knee. When you found your balance there, lift the right arm up to the sky. Just keep that tailbone tucked and the hips square. And on your next breath, begin to open up your knee to the side as your right arm comes down into a T. You can either stay right here or send your gaze over your right fingertips. And eventually drawing everything back through center. Arms overhead, stay with the foot at 90 degrees and then thread it back once again into our crescent lunge. Nice, we've been here before, but we won't stay here for long. Place your right hand to your right knee and then lift your left arm up and over to the side and do a crescent-like shape all the way through that left side body. And then moving into our warrior two by sliding the back foot down and then opening the arms into a T. I'm just going to shift my weight over to the other mat so that you can see what it looks like. This is our widest lunge, warrior two. Make sure that the knee is over top of the ankle and that you can see your right big toe down below you. Arms are strong across, and send your gaze over your right fingertips. And maybe a bit of a smile here. This is a strong posture for the legs. Stay with it if you can for one more breath. And then straighten the front leg as you flip your right palm. Send it back into an exalted triangle. So legs are straight, body's leaning back and over to the side. And then exhale your way back into Warrior Two. We'll try that again, flowing it back. Inhale. Exhale, Warrior Two. One more time. Inhale. Exhale, cartwheel your arms all the way to the ground into a runner's lunge and gently lower your back knee to the ground. We're moving here into a half splits by flexing the right toes up towards your face, keeping your hips over top of your left knee. Now try not to let this be a passive posture where we're just hanging out, but instead think about lengthening through the spine as we draw the right hip back. And if there is more space, you can begin to take the elbows wide as the body comes closer down towards your right leg. Pausing here. You're welcome to move into a bigger variation of the splits if that's accessible to you. If you do decide to go there, try to keep your back toes tucked like mine so that we don't open up the hip too much. Instead, really work on pulling that left hip down, making sure that the hips are square. And just taking one more breath wherever you are. Eventually making your way back to the low lunge. This time hands are coming out in front of you as you float the back foot behind you into an L stand. The hips are nice and square here. Flex your back foot as though you're standing on a wall behind you. And keep that right knee straight as much as you can. If it's tight through your hamstring, you can always bend that front knee. And if there's lots of space here, you can begin to fold forward, taking your right hand behind the calf and maybe folding into your standing split. Really working on hips square as much as you can. And then everything coming back down into meet in forward fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold back down. Coming to stand, arms lift to the sky. Inhale, breath. Exhale, heart center. We're coming back to the top of the mat, this time rooting down into your left foot and drawing your right knee out in front of you. Place your right hand to the knee. When you found your balance, the left arm lifts to the sky. Hips are square here. And then begin to open up your right knee to the side as your left hand comes down to a T. And you can either stay here or send your gaze over towards your left fingertips, finding your balance. And then back through center. Arms release to the sky. Stay with your right knee at 90 degrees and then thread your right leg back behind you. Crescent lunge once again. Place your left hand to your knee and then reach up and over into a crescent shape with the body to feel the stretch here into the right hip flexor. Should feel really nice. Stay high on the back toes. Now circle the arms around as you spin that back foot down into Warrior Two legs. And I'll just move myself back into my warrior stance here on my other mat. And this is a nice wide lunge. And you should notice where your left heel is and if it cuts through the middle of the back foot. Try to lower down into the left knee so that we've got a nice 90-degree angle between our thigh and our shin. And send your gaze over your left fingertips. Strong legs. Take another breath in. On your exhale, straighten the front leg and flip the left palm and send it back into an exalted triangle. Exhale forward, Warrior Two. Inhale, flow it back. Exhale, Warrior Two. One more time, lengthen. And this time as we come down, circle the arms all the way down. Runner's lunge, gently lowering the back knee. And then flexing into your half split. Other side. Nice. Really work here on pulling your left hip back, sending your right hip forward. And then really concentrate on lengthening through from the lower spine, so we don't have this rounding action here, but we're nice and active, finding length and really activating the lengthening of your left hamstring. Elbows can go wide, or you're welcome to stretch into a bigger version of your splits. Really working on keeping that back foot tucked so that we don't open up that right hip. Take in one more breath. And when you're ready, plant into your left foot. Draw your arms forward and float your right leg behind you, finding your way into your L stand. And if there's space, standing split is always an option. Taking your left hand behind the calf and folding over top of your left leg. Hips are nice and square. Reach the right leg back and up. Eventually lowering down and finding your way top of your mat, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold down. And then step back into your plank pose with the option of taking a vinyasa or skipping it. And meeting back in downward dog when you're ready. And then lower your knees to the ground. Pause there for a moment. We're going to take Dolphin Plank, which is a strengthening posture for the core. The setup is elbows underneath shoulders at shoulder distance apart, and clasp your hands, interlacing your fingers. And then when you're ready, walk your feet back behind you, coming high on the toes, and squeeze your belly in. And try to keep your hips, shoulders in the same line. Legs are strong. Work your heels back. Work the crown of your head forward, becoming a long line of energy. Squeeze everything in and hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower your knees to the ground. Take child's pose. Forehead to the ground. When you're ready, we're going to make our way back into that same plank-like position with the option this time of taking a forearm side plank on either side. So when you're ready, send your legs back, find your way into your plank, and then begin to turn onto the knife edge of your left foot, inner edge of your right foot, and the right arm will lift up to the sky. With the option here of floating your right over top of the left, a little bit of an added challenge. Lower your right elbow down, shift your weight over to the other side, and lift the left arm up to the sky. Really root down into your right elbow, find length and lift through the hips, and then back over. We'll hold here in our plank, our forearm plank for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower your knees. Take them a little closer together, and then draw your arms alongside your legs as your forehead comes down. This really helps to take any pressure off of the shoulders. From here, coming right back up into your tabletop, and then shift your weight over onto your right hip as you send your legs forward and long. Keep them straight out in front of you. We'll take a forward fold here. Start by really activating the tailbone down and then flexing your feet out in front of you. On your inhale, arms will come up overhead. On your exhale, really work on that long spine as your arms come forward. And if they don't touch your toes, bend your knees until they do. And then work on eventually straightening the legs. Again, try to avoid this action here of rounding and collapsing through the shoulders. Instead, we want to do the opposite. Think about a string pulling your heart forward. Finding length there, and if there is space, you can either take the peace fingers around the big toes or the hands to the outside edges of the feet, eventually drawing yourself forward and taking the elbows wide. Pause here to breathe. Keep the gaze forward. Take one more breath. One more exhale. Eventually finding your way back up, and give your legs a little shake out. And then bend your knees, feet flat on the ground, hands behind your thighs as you come all the way down onto your mat. Knees draw in towards your chest. Give yourself a nice squeeze and a rock side to side. We'll move into a spinal twist here. So take arms into cactus and cross your right leg over your left. When you're ready, knees will draw all the way down to the left. And your gaze can either stay up to the sky or turn towards your right shoulder. For a little bit of added pressure, you can take your left hand to the outside edge of your right thigh. And really work here on settling your right shoulder down to the ground. Relaxing into your twist. Just one more breath. And exhale your way back through center, uncrossing your legs, arms back into cactus. Left knee crosses the right, and then they come all the way down to the right side of your mat. Gaze might turn over to your left shoulder. Any other leg variation or pressure here on the outside edge of your left thigh. Take one more breath. And then coming back through center, uncross your legs. Happy baby before Shavasana, elbows inside the knees, hands to the outside edges of your feet. Pull your feet down towards the ground and keep them flexed. And then think about your tailbone rooting down to the mat. You should feel your whole spine connecting onto the earth. An option here to take a gentle rock side to side. Whenever you're ready, you can lower your legs down to the mat. If there's any other pose calling out to you, feel free to take that. Or just join me here in Shavasana for a few breaths of surrender and release and breath. And when you're ready, knees come back in towards your chest. You can come onto the left or right side of your body. And when you're ready, press down into the ground as you make your way up into a seated position. Drawing your hands to meet at your heart. Take just a moment of gratitude with your eyes closed to bow in towards yourself. Thank you for practicing with me, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.